Team Patrick Vellner. Patrick Vellner, team.
Yeah.
The first thing I was going to cover, did you see today that Apple released a Ginger Emoji?
Did they actually though? Because I feel like I've been pump faked by this like 20 times now. Everyone's like, it's finally happening, and then it doesn't come out.
It was in the news.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Well,
How do you
about
feel?
time.
Yeah, about time.
About time. I've been repressed for far too long.
One of the questions I always ask people is, what's your favorite music?
Oof. I don't know. It might depend on the mood or what I'm doing. In the summer, I listen to a lot of country in the gym.
Yes.
But because I run everything off my phone, and I'm usually at the gym by myself, if I ever need to film anything, I can't have music.
Yeah.
So I just it's one or the other.
Nice.
So sometimes I just don't have music on, and it's fine.
Country music. Who's your favorite country artist?
Like Eric Church or Dierks Bentley or something like that.
Nice. Do you like Justin Bieber?
Dude, he's a Canadian icon.
Yeah.
Gotta love the boy.
Yes.
Hometown kid.
What's your favorite thing other than CrossFit? With the time that you do have, because we know I walked in and he was doing his exam test stuff.
Studying, yeah.
Studying.
I
So
don't
when
know.
you're not studying and you're not doing CrossFit.
I'm trying to do anything other than CrossFit, basically. I live with a bunch of other students at home, and we'll go play pickup sports and do things like that. And I try to get out and do other things, but I don't know. There's not a lot of extra hours in the day for me most days.
You don't have a pet, do you?
I don't, but we dog sit.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we are signed up at my house. We signed up on an online service where families go away for a week, and it's like Airbnb for your dog.
You need to sign up for that, Jazz.
It's called
That'd be
Rover.
amazing.
You basically, they rank you, and then you rank their dog as well. Like if their dog was super messy and untrained, you'd give it a low rating. And then later when it's when people request if you just sit their dog, you can look and see oh, this dog is super well behaved. It's low maintenance. It's super easy.
That's what he does in his spare time.
What happens if you don't want to give it back though?
It's tough,
I know.
You might struggle with the separation. Yeah.
This is probably going to be the most controversial question. What do you think of the new setup to the games?
It grows on you. I don't know. I think everybody had their knee-jerk reaction, and do I think it was a necessary change? No, but I think that it opens up the space to a lot of new opportunities, and the first year going to be very messy? Yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where it goes from there. It's like anything. Mistakes will be made, and people will learn from them, and it's going to get better.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely some cool opportunities that it generates. So we'll see. It doesn't change much. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm going to try to be fitter than everybody else. It's the same as last year and the year before and the year before that.
Are you going to go for the Open, or
I'm
are
going to
you
do
one of
the
those
Open.
people that?
I think the Open is stressful. I would much rather compete in a live competition than compete in an Open, any online Open qualifier, just because anytime you do anything, as soon as you finish, you always wonder could I have squeezed out one more rep, 2 more reps, a couple more seconds.
Yep.
And I think in a competition, you just move past that, or you should, and you have to. A good competitor doesn't dwell on that stuff. It's it's maybe I could have, maybe I couldn't have. Who knows? It's done now. I have to focus on the next thing.
Yep.
In an open setting where you literally can just redo it the next day or that day or whenever, that can play in your head a lot. And I think that when it's 5 weeks long, no matter who you are, that just plays in your head for 5 weeks. Is a long time to just have to deal with that.
In this year's Open, did you redo?
I think I redid 2. Everybody knows somebody who's 10 times better in the gym than they are in competition.
Yep.
And I mean, those guys will emerge out of the Open and go to the games now.
Yep.
So it's an interesting conversation. I'm going to compete in a couple events, try to clinch a spot early. I'm going to compete in Wadapalooza in January, and then I'll do the Open, and I might do one more, and then see.
Apparently there is a Canada East Games in June 2019.
When did that get announced?
It's not been announced yet. Someone tagged me in it, but they look like they're revealing some big news.
I'll believe that when I
see it.
See something official. I don't believe that's.
Mindset. I wanted to cover 3 funny things at the games. 1, falling off the bike. 2, falling off the rig. And 3, your plate rolling away.
Right, okay.
How do you deal with that?
I had the good fortune of competing in gymnastics for a long, long time, and that's a sport that, if nothing else, it teaches you how to get back up when you fall down inevitably, because that's just how you learn in gymnastics. You fall on your head 100 times, and then eventually you land on your feet.
So is that your background?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was your background.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't actually know gymnastics.
Yeah, competed in gymnastics for 13 years or something like that.
Oh, nice. So when you came, the muscle up was oh yeah, I've done this before.
Yeah. First day I did muscle ups in CrossFit, I could do 10, no problem.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, me
but I couldn't squat like my body weight, so everything comes with its price. So yeah, I mean the bike, that sucks, and I mean, yeah, we all knew that was a risk and it was a hazard of the event, and it was kind of the whole point we were doing it.
Yeah.
So you just hope you don't get put in a situation where you're the one who it costs points, but it happens, and like whatever, like what are you gonna do? I wasn't looking for a handout after it was done. It's just like basically my first thought, I think, after I finished that event was that I was gonna have to try harder on the marathon row than I wanted to.
Nice.
And like that's how you have to look at it. It's like, well, the first day had 400 points available, so I could afford one bad finish and still be in the top heat at the end of day one, and that became my priority as soon as we were done. So
Marathon row, worst workout you've ever done?
no
In competition?
Well, no, it depends. Workouts are different, are bad for different reasons.
Yeah.
So I'm actually like reasonably okay with long-term discomfort like that. It sucks and it's boring, but I can turn my brain off and just like autopilot that and be disciplined enough to stay on the same split or do something like that, and it's fine. I'll stare at the screen for 3 hours if I have to stare at the screen for 3 hours. That's cool. But when it comes to like, you know, you have sometimes workouts that your muscles just fail, like it's muscular endurance. Like I can't do another handstand push-up. My lungs are fine, everything's fine. I just physically am out of gas.
Yeah.
And then there's workouts that are super anaerobic where like your lungs and your heart want to explode. So it's all kind of like things are hard for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I think it just depends. It's personal preference. Like what is your background like? Like what do you do in training more often? Like what do you like? Just what do you like? What kind of hurt do you like?
Yeah.
Because they're all going to hurt a little bit for different reasons, and it just depends. So marathon row was bad in its own right, but it was an interesting event. It was weird. Like it was low heart rate, low breathing rate. You could like talk to somebody every 10-15 minutes if you started getting lonely.
Did you say anything to anyone when you were there?
Man, Brent, Matt, and I would have a conversation maybe every 10-15 minutes in the back there.
Was there a bit of goading?
Not early, but like a little bit later maybe.
Nice.
And like Brent and I had a chat about how we were going to finish the event at the end, and it was fine. Like it was weird. It was very weird.
driving.
Yeah.
places.
She hates driving. You know, like we drive everywhere,
driving.
and then when we drove home from somewhere, like it was an hour and a half drive home, and literally 45 minutes in, she was just like, I can't deal with this, not
Driving's
driving
annoying. It
stuff.
depends where you're driving.
It's like
Driving in
I'm
traffic
bored
is just
and we-
mind-numbing.
Yeah, it's getting stuck in traffic.
Looking at your mentality, do you doubt yourself? Do you get nervous? Do you question yourself sometimes? Like maybe in the off season, not in the off season, but in the time off away from the games.
Yeah, of course. Almost every day. I think everybody does. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that at some point somebody told somebody that you can't think that way, and that it's bad.
Yeah.
But I think that you need to be aware that there's ways to learn and grow from that sort of mentality, and people get all worried about focusing on negative energy is going to bring negative energy. Like this is the real world we live in. There's not magic in this stuff. Like
Yeah.
if you are worried about, oh man, like I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit this snatch or this whatever, if you can appreciate that the reason you're worried about that is that I haven't worked enough on that, guess what? Like every day you have a chance to fix that. And I think that if you don't worry about certain things, you don't plan for them.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about something going wrong in a certain way, or a certain event, or a certain type of thing happening, you can plan for it. If you never ever acknowledge the fact that something could possibly go wrong, you have no plan for when something goes wrong, because they will.
Yeah.
Like I fucking know. Like things go
He's
wrong.
the king of
Things go wrong, and like I'm good at dealing with when things go wrong because I'm ready for it. If you just throw all that energy in every direction, like it doesn't do you any good. You need to be able to focus that on something that's useful and be linear and just be like
Make a change.
You need to be cold. Like it's weird. Like you need to be able to. It's great to be emotional and use those emotions as much as you can, but you need to be stone cold when you're competing. And I think that's a big difference. Is you see athletes who, mind you, will do sometimes very amazing because they ride the highs really high, but usually there's a big crash with those sorts of things. And if you're a big roller coaster athlete, it's like highs are high, lows are low, and then like it's hard. Like when you really you fight with momentum a lot when you are that kind of an athlete or competitor. And I think often the best athletes and the people who have the best results are just, you'll see they're very linear. Like it's just like there's nothing's too high, nothing's too low. It's just steady as she goes, and you plug along.
Detach emotion and just ride in.
I know it's boring. Everybody likes the big yell and the big hoorah and the emotional moments, but like
It's like they're
I think we
just
saw
getting
it, though.
done,
It's-
isn't it?
yeah.
It's just,
We saw it this. I mean, I saw it this year when like Fraser did the clean and jerk ladder. Everyone
Yeah.
was expecting him to do huge things, and then before that event, he was like shouting his head off. You could tell he was like uber fired up, like too much, not him.
Yeah.
And then when he ran up to that final bar and dropped it, and then rushed
And
to
then he
pick it up
panicked
again,
and
and then
missed it.
panicked.
Yeah, and again, so that's a couple things. Like I'm saying, that's for one thing, a guy who's so experienced in weightlifting. It's probably a scenario where he may not think as much. You know, like if you're a guy like Matt who grew up weightlifting, doing whatever, and like when it comes time for him to do a big set of muscle ups, he's focused because this isn't his element. This isn't something he's always done. It's something he learned to do. So he's still focused on it. But when it steps up to like a moderate weight clean and jerk for him, or like a heavy-ish, but like a percentage lift, he probably doesn't really think. It's a lot of muscle memory. So that's a situation where like I made the same mistakes in the handstand walk event this year, where I'm so accustomed to being on my hands, I don't think. And I made a couple just brainless errors that caused me to fall because I just like I didn't even think of what the obstacle I was going over was, and I was just like I was so focused on other things that I messed up. So, and like for him, it's not, I don't know if it's that, you know, he was getting too fired up, but he like maybe got ahead of himself and wasn't thinking of that bar or whatever. And then, you know, hadn't maybe thought about when he missed, wasn't aware of what was going on. Like he probably could have taken a 5-second rest and hit that bar and still advanced.
Yeah.
But you're just caught up in that moment, and it sort of like catches you off guard and goes.
So even the stuff that you're good at, you need to sometimes competition just like focus on it and be like, this is where I could mess up more than others.
And that's what I like. That's a lesson that I learned this year. Is like I made a couple errors in things that I'm typically very good at, and I'm generally I execute fairly well in competition. And this year I just didn't, and I don't. It's something that I had to take away and look at and say like, hey, well, why? Like, what happened? What was I doing? What was I thinking about? And was I thinking too much about the like 10 steps ahead instead of like what was right in front of me? And then do I need to refocus on dialing that back and just like.
You're there behind the scenes. Who do you have like a laugh with, or are you like literally you like go into the games and you?
No, I'm very not that way. Some people are, and I totally respect that because I mean your whole year is hinged on that one event for a lot of people. But it's a funny scenario because it's really hard to get to know people at the games because it's basically like you put someone in the most stressful context possible and then try to like read their personality. Like you don't know, no one's acting like themselves in that scenario. It's a pressure cooker. So you end up with some people who, you know, will shut away, not talk to people, and other guys who try to get really like I tend to talk a lot with people to try to just settle myself down. So I don't like.
Who are your crew?
Matt and Brent, I'm pretty close with. This year we sat everybody in the athlete area. All of our lockers were like kind of all next to each other. It was like Brent and Matt and I, and Josh Bridges was right there. Sean Sweeney was right next to us. He's always a laugh. Nick Urankar, a couple guys. That was a pretty good squad.
This is one that like everyone usually wants to know. It's like, what does your diet look like? Are you a macro tracker? Are you just a guy that just eats intuitively? Do you have a different diet from like say now to like when you're going up to the games? Do you dial everything in?
I work with a nutritionist who gives me kind of a full meal plan, basically seasonally or as I want. Like right now I'm not really following it, but then as I ramp up towards competition, we'll just touch base, we'll do an update, and then she'll build a schedule that's usually dependent on what I'm doing. So she'll make a skeleton for like whether I'm working and training that day or just training or training twice or rest day or whatever. Like I'll have a different outline for each day. Tracking macros frankly is too much thinking for me. I have too many other things to think about, and I would rather not. So she just gives me like the actual literal amounts of each food to like put on your plate and eat, and I will just do that, and it's easy, and I don't care. And people ask me if I get bored of eating the same thing, and it's like, nah, I don't even think about it. Like when
it's just another cog in the wheel of
and when it's in season, you're just I don't know. And I have so many other things I'm thinking about. It's just fuel. Like I don't think about it as much. And then when it's whatever, if it's one day of the week I'm gonna go out for dinner with friends or do something, like that's fine. You can give yourself some freedom. It's not the end of the world, but it's consistency over time, right? So if for 2 months I'm bang on and like once every other week I go out for dinner with friends and just like go completely off the rails, it's a blip. It's not matter that much. I think people get a little too hung up on that stuff in general, and I know everyone's like, diet's like 90% of everything, but okay.
And what does your training look like? Because you are a full-time student, right? You're full-time studying. So do you train once a day? Do you train twice a day? Do you work 9 till 5 in the day and then train at night? Or how's your study go with your training? Because a lot of people, obviously, you look at the Matt Frasers and like Brent Fikowski's now just quit his job because he wants to go into full-time training. There's a lot of athletes that want to go into full-time training, and you're obviously third in the world 3 years ago, third in the world 2 years ago, second in the world this year. Do you reckon if you weren't studying and you could put your all into training instead, do you think that would make a big difference, or are you kind of happy the way that you are now?
I'd love to just say, yeah, you know, if I was full-time, I would obviously win.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's the case. I think that I'm frankly kind of trying to avoid full-time training. I don't think it's something that I could do very well. I would go nuts, frankly. I can't. I tend to, every time I have a free minute of time, I fill it. Like, I just, like, that's how I live. It's how I've always done things, and I just, like, I can't not. And I think too much of the full-time training life revolves around resting and sitting around, and, like, I just can't do that.
You'd end up, for me, I think, personally, if I didn't have the videos, I'd end up, like, either overtraining or overthinking my training.
Yeah, and the other thing that I tend to tell people is, like, I think you need something else. So if it wasn't school, I would have to fill my time with something else outside of training, because I need the outlet to step away from it. Like, I'm able to enjoy training and enjoy competing. I like it, but I think that if it was the only thing I was doing, it would give me anxiety. Like, it would be very stressful. It would have another level to it where, like, you know, let's say, God forbid, you get hurt or something like that. Like, now what? Like, your body is your tool, like, it's your job, it's everything, and you just, like, you're done now. For how long? Like, I don't know, let's see. And you just, everything runs off the rails, whereas now, you know, there's a little bit less stress around that stuff. I don't have to think about it where, you know, if things turned on their heads and the CrossFit Games were over and everything was over, and I'm fine. Like, I still have a career I can go into, and it's fine. And there's, like, it's like a safety net for one thing, but it allows me to step away from training. You know, you walk out, you have a bad day in the gym, like, it's fine, you know, I don't dwell on it. I go home and I have work to do. Like, I've got other things that need to get done. I find it a lot easier to focus fully on training when I'm at the gym, because I'm trying to get away from my school and my work. And then the vice versa. When it's time to get away from training, it's like, I don't need to, you know, you're prepping for regionals, you're prepping for the games, and it's busy and it's stressful, and then, like, it's nice to just shut off and not have to think about it. So
you're now, like, obviously, how long have you got left of your study?
I only, like, 6 months.
So then after that, are you going to look for a job?
I'll probably try to work a couple days a week. Like, I'll definitely change my schedule up to allow myself a bit more freedom as far as travel or things like that are concerned.
You don't think you'll go full time?
No, I'll always work a little bit. But even, like, who knows? Like, let's say I work 2 days a week for half days. Like, I think for me at that point, I want to be able to keep my skills sharp and keep my brain sharp for when I want to come back to my career. Because I have no illusions that this athlete window is forever. Like, it's a small window. Yeah. I try to not be in the gym for longer than, like, a couple hours at a time if I can help it. Especially if there's multiple sessions. Like, spend a couple hours. If you're outside of 2 hours, you should be, like, you're either moving too slow, or you should be, or your session's too long.
It's like your productivity.
I'm the same. Like, it's the same, like, and I love using school analogies because it's easy for me. But, like, I know people, and I'm sure everybody's had the experience of, like, guys, you know, go to the library and sit for 10 hours in the library and do 2 hours of work. Yeah. And then they're like, come home, like, oh, you know, I was in the library for 10 hours and you have nothing to show for it. So, like, the same thing happens when people go to the gym forever. You know, if you're a full-time athlete who has all the hours in the day, like, do you risk that happening where now my productivity just shoots to nothing because I have all the time? It's like, I'll get to that at some point. Like, I'll stretch this lifting out for over 2 hours, and that could be done in 40 minutes. And I think that because I need to be on a clock, like, I walk into the gym and I start the timer and it runs for 90 minutes. And so if I get to 90 minutes and, like, some things aren't done that I think should be done in 90 minutes, you need to reassess, like, okay, do I need to move some of this stuff to another session? Do I need to just kick myself in the ass and get moving?
It's almost like you having education and having the structure makes you train better rather than
more efficiently, I think, for sure. Yeah. The one thing that I would say that I lose is I lose a lot of, like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have the luxury of time ever. And so when it comes time to, like, you know, people focus a lot on their recovery and doing a long warm up and a long cool down, like, I don't have time for any of that. Yeah. Like, I just don't do it. I don't warm up barely. I don't cool down ever. And I very rarely.
You sound very much like me, just like 100 times better.
Yeah. I very rarely do anything for my recovery. The one thing that I do have is a lot of access to physical therapy because I was in school for chiropractic. So, like, at the end of the day, worst case, if I need somebody to do a couple passes on a muscle or something, like, I can go home and my roommates can, like, give me a little muscle care or whatever. Or when I'm working in clinic, one of the other interns can come and like help me out, mobilize my shoulder or my hip for me if I'm like dying.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's not.
Having access to chiropractors is cracking.
Boom.
Yeah. Nice. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh yeah, I go for pineapple on pizza.
No.
What is with that?
I love pineapple on pizza.
just-
Craig like has a meltdown.
It's
about it.
illegal.
He also hates
Why though?
peanuts.
What's the deal with that?
It's
Oh,
just-
you hate peanuts?
You eat
Oh, I hate
peanuts around
peanuts.
What about peanut butter?
He-
No, it's even
Really?
worse. Yeah, it's the smell.
He literally
Really?
retches
Like,
on
are
the
you
child.
allergic or are you just
No, just the smell. I like literally have to stick my head out.
just
the
a
car.
weirdo then?
Yeah.
Weird.
It's just a big
Yeah,
girl.
100%.
He literally goes like, ugh. I'm like, oh, don't
Oh,
make that
man.
noise.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
if
It's like
you-
one of my favorite things. I'll go have a scoop of peanut butter and that's a treat.
Do you like? I'm like that with Nutella.
Yeah.
Just on a spoon.
Sugar
Yeah.
content
See, I'm not a
is
huge
probably-
Nutella guy.
No. Chocolate, man. It's the way
weird.
forward.
Yeah, but like, just have an actual chocolate. Like, what's with this? Why are you trying to turn it into?
spread.
Why are you
Eat the
trying to-
spread.
why are you trying to turn it into soup?
Yeah.
It's weird. Just have a chocolate. Whatever.
If you were stranded on a desert island with 2 athletes, games athletes, who would they be?
For what reasons? Like, am I trying?
They're going to help you survive.
Just like we're stuck there indefinitely.
Yeah.
We need to survive.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we saying? Like, can be from either side or like one guy, one girl?
Anyone.
Okay. Let's see. I'd pick my friend Laura Horvath there because I think she's comically fearless, and I feel like for some reason she's got good survival skills.
She's come like not come out of nowhere. She's been someone that's like been on the radar for a while, but like this last year, she's just.
Yeah, she's exceptionally good.
My excitement level for her at her age is just ridiculous.
She's awesome. She's exciting to watch, and she's funny to train with. She's so enthusiastic about fitness still. I'm like this old jaded man. It's just like like over everything, and she's just pumped. It's funny. Whenever we have training camps with Michelle, it's like the contrast is laughable.
She's just like a little puppy.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. So excited to exercise all the time. Oh, maybe like I won't say like Alex Anderson. I feel like he's like a big strong man who could protect me.
Yeah, nice. Talking about strength, 595-pound deadlift. Why didn't you go 600?
I didn't think of it.
No. Did it feel good ripping it off the floor though?
I don't know. It felt fine.
You look cool doing it with the glasses.
That's what I keep hearing.
And the photo of walking off is probably the coolest games photo. like,
Yeah,
ever.
that's right. That's a good photo.
Yeah.
I had some good photos this year for all my tripping and stumbling that I did. I feel like I had some good moments.
Yeah.
It was like the highs and the lows.
The what?
We didn't get an answer on the plate. What was
Oh, the
going through
plate
your head
rolling?
when the plate rolled?
Yeah, when the plate rolled off.
Honestly, at that point, there was the last event of the games. I
were
was
just
like,
chasing.
I had already finished most of the workout, and I was like, okay, like in my mind, it was already. I had finished second place basically. I just needed to like move this yoke another 50 feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of saw it when I first shoveled it back, and I saw it flip up, and I was just like, it'll tip over. And then I loaded the front, and then I turned around to load the back, and I saw it like 20 feet away. And I just laughed. I was like, honestly, in my head, all I could think was like, of course. Like, of course that
It's quite
would
funny. There's like a shot
Happen to
where.
anyone.
yeah, I was like, I just like,
a shot, I
I,
think
had
it's-
to laugh. I was like, this, because it was like, it was fine. It wasn't really gonna matter. Like, it wasn't really gonna matter. It was good. It was over. And I was like, of course that would happen. Like, why wouldn't it?
It's quite funny watching the stream back because I think it's on Fraser at the time, and you just come in
and it
behind
just
with the
rolls in
plate.
behind. I know.
It's like that.
I just remember seeing Bosman looking at me like, what are you doing? Because he was going to like stop it, and Castro's yelling at him, and I just like ran over, and I stopped it like right before it got to him, and I just like, we had this moment where I grabbed the plate, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me like, what are you doing?
It's like that Benton video.
It's brutal.
The Benton video where his dog's going after the deer. You see the deer and then the dog, and then do you know what I'm on about?
Benton! 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 Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh, Christ!
And now it's exactly what I thought. I was like, you know what? It's like, I don't even care anymore. It's like, just strike me down. Like, it's just like, all that's left is like, I'm gonna get struck by lightning as I hit the finish line.
How did it feel falling off that net? Like we I know as like spectators and fans and whatever, we saw the aftermath of you getting checked up and stuff. Was it really bad?
It was bad. Like, physically it was bad. Like, I bruised my lung. It was not good. I was coughing blood for like an hour.
Cool.
But it was, I don't know, it like, yeah, it hurt, but I would say it's like adrenaline. I think that had I not been in a race, I probably would have like had the wind knocked out of me pretty bad and like laid there for a sec. But you just make yourself get up and figure it out. Like I couldn't really breathe for the next little bit, but all we had to do was those little like stepping logs. So instead of taking them like 5 at a time, I just like pretty gingerly walked across them and tried to get my breath back and get my shit together and get organized. And then the next 2 obstacles were very technical and not as fast. It was like the rope stuff. So you didn't have to be flying through it. So I kind of had the opportunity to like settle my breath down and get my breath back. But oh yeah, I had my bell rung pretty good. Like by the time we started running back to the stadium, we were running back, but I finally was feeling like a little better. And I was
Did you just not want to? Were you just out to one up Fraser? You just saw him do it, so then you went. You went next.
Yeah, basically. I was like, that looks fast.
Yeah, I'll give it a back. Do you have any funny stories? Are you gonna call someone out here?
I don't know. That's the thing. It's tough. I'm trying to think of what enemies I can afford to make.
Kevin, he saved Goodmanson at regionals. Goodmanson was stuck on the toilet and he had no toilet roll.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my friend Kevin went in and he was like, "Oh my god, is there someone there?" Yeah, and his heat was on. That was a pretty funny story.
That would happen to BK.
Yeah.
What a wreck. Well, I'm really excited for the footage to come out of the post-marathon row. Because we were just actually talking about this earlier with somebody, and I've never seen a bigger disaster in my life. Like the amount of for a bunch of super fit athletic people, watching everyone walk around after, like as they exited the floor, and like when we got to the back, like even on whatever people saw on the floor was us putting on a brave face and trying to just like get out of there. And then like the people in the back and going to the ice baths and things was like atrocious. People were falling in the ice baths because they would like get ab cramps and they'd fall straight over backwards. And I think like Matt had to get driven back but in like a golf cart. Logan Collins had to get rescued out of the tub because he cramped up and fell backwards, like totally submerged, and he couldn't get out because he was all cramping. So it was hilarious. And like every person you'd see, because we were done earlier, like we were some of the first people back, and every person you'd see come up and try to like get in the bath was just another show.
Post-zombie apocalypse kind of.
Yeah. I remember Tim Paulson saying when he came up that he kind of, everybody's goes, and I'm pretty good at just getting right in the ice. And I think most athletes there are pretty used to it, and you just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and get in. And he just like stepped in and stood like whatever it was up to his knees, and then he just got right out. And he's like, you know what? Nah. All of my mental strength that I had in my being just got used up on that rower. And he's like, I can't do this. And he just left.
Not right now.
Yeah, he's just like, you know what? Any other day, it'd be fine, but not today. Yeah, he's like, not today.
Did you have an inspiration coming into CrossFit?
As far as like inspirations in the sport?
Yeah, did you go like, like Froning, like for a lot of people out there, it's obviously like the Froning that got them into it, or the OG, like, did you have someone that you looked up to going, and did you ever think that you were going to be at the games and be second fittest in the world?
Well, no to that, but I don't know. Not kind of no to both. I think that when I started because I met some friends at school who were basically like working out at the school gym at the same time, and they were doing CrossFit, and I'd rather not train by myself. So I just kind of started working out with them. They were buddies from school and got me into it, and like that was probably early January in like 2013. And so then I did the open with them that year after like a couple months. And it was fine. Like I had never done any weightlifting before, and I was really good at the gymnastics stuff. So we just kind of like helped each other out and figured it out. And then that year after the open, I just sort of, like slowly built my weightlifting up and got better and qualified for regionals the next year. But, yeah, I don't know. I think they were kind of all up to date on what the games, like I've heard talk about it, but I didn't really know anything about it then. And obviously got to know more as it progressed. Even when I went to regionals in 2014, like I had never seen any games stuff or really made a point of following up.
So you were more one of those people that just kind of got into it because you enjoy training rather than a lot of people get into it.
It just sort of gave me a reason to be motivated to train. Yeah. Whereas, especially coming from, like most athletes, when you come from a sporting background and you're used to being driven towards a goal or whatever, and all of a sudden you quit, it's a big void. Like I was used to training 20 plus hours a week, 25 hours a week for a specific purpose, and now I just sort of didn't have any.
Yeah.
And so I was working out because I knew I should, but it was just like, that's boring. And it was nice to have a goal and like something to improve on, you know, even if it was as simple as, man, I really suck at weightlifting because I've never done it before, it's new, but every day you try to get a little bit better at that stuff. And so I just had more fun with it, and frankly I was doing it with some people that I just like to hang out with, so we just would work out together and hang out and have fun. And then it's funny, like, gone are the days where that was how I did it. Like, now I work out by myself at my gym and just like crush myself on a daily basis in whatever time I have, and it's just like completely different. But yeah, I never would have thought of myself even when I first started at regional. So like, I remember one of my first regional was back when, like, it was before super regional, and that was when Albert, Dominic LaRouche, and Paul Tremblay qualified from Canada East, and like seeing like those guys, it was like, fuck, they're on another level. And then like the next year I went on a team, and still like the individuals seemed like far off, less far. But it's just, I don't know, you like
consistency,
it's a little bit, inch by inch. Like, you just next thing you know, you're there. It's like, not, you just need to commit to it. It's a lot of days. And like,
what would you say to those people at the end of the camera that, you know, like, we've got a lot of people that watch the vlog that are like just normal CrossFitters, but the ones that want to be where you are? Because I guess you started off just enjoying the sport, and then do you think it's just the consistency? Do you think it's just going in and trying to make yourself a little bit better every day, finding, from what you said, is like finding what makes you anxious and what you go, oh, I'm not that good at that, like if that comes up I suck, and focusing on it?
Yeah, it sucks, and that it's really hard to do that. I think that one of the biggest things that people need to know if they want to try to be a competitor is that it sucks most of the time. Like, champions are made on the bad days. Like, you don't go in and when the day everything went great and you just nailed everything and went home, like, that's not the day that's going to make you better. It's the day that, like, you're tired and you're sore and you don't want to go in and you're missing all your lifts, and it's just like, now what are you going to do?
Do you train mostly by yourself? So do you put that down to like mental strength too? So do you think that training by yourself has benefited you, or do you think it's...
I think that there's good things, there's pros and cons to training by yourself or with other people. I think that you do need to be self-motivated. If you absolutely can't get into the gym to do a full session, if you're by yourself, you need somebody else there as a crutch, it's going to be hard for you. But if you're able to do that by yourself, it's not great to do every day. It kind of sucks. It's boring. Like, even if, I don't even care, even if no one's training with me, if somebody else is just like in the gym next to me, in the room with me, you just feel better. You know, like between sets, you have a quick chat and you'll have a laugh and then you move on, and it's fine. Like, it's just engaging and it's fun. And the social aspect of CrossFit is why it's got such high retention. Like, people love CrossFit because they're engaged and they get engaged with the community and they make friends and they stay around. But yeah, the competitive side is just a little bit different, but I think it does take a certain amount of mental toughness to be able to just do that.
Is that... I'm looking at your thumbs. This is weird for me, but are they bruised or is that ink?
No, those are just bruised. That's from a hook grip.
So over time, like, my thumbs have discolored, and I've just looked at yours, and that's a true champion's thumbs.
So look forward to that.
That's some hook grip life. So I guess trips like this for you are kind of fun. You know, you have Laura and Alec and people that you're like...
Training camps are fun for that, same thing. But I think one of the downsides of training with other people is, depending on who they are, you compete, you don't train. And there is something really bad about competing all the time. If you want to have any longevity or stay healthy, you can't be competing all the time. So even if it's, again, like I said, you have just the same people in the same room or whatever, and you're doing different things, awesome. But it's hard all the time to, like, if I had a training partner who was also competing as an individual games athlete, like in the men's field, who I'm literally competing against for the season, you would always be trying to beat each other, always, like without exception, because you know this is your direct competition. And so it would take a huge toll on your body. I think mentally, physically, like, your nervous system would be shot and you wouldn't be able to do it. It would be as if you were competing every week for your whole season. And that's just too much. I think you need to take training for what it is, and people get a little bit hung up on numbers and details. And I mean, there's so many things to quantify in CrossFit that it's easy for that to happen. But if you look at your programming and it's like, okay, I have my aerobic whatever, I have my anaerobic whatever, I have some power output, some strength and whatever. You're doing your strength piece and you're like supposed to be hitting a certain percentage, and it feels heavy today, and like, whatever. If it feels heavy, it feels heavy. Like, if it's work up to 100% and your 100% today isn't what your 100% ever is, that's fine. Did you get a heavy stimulus? Like, are you going to build strength based on that? Probably. Like, is it the maximum potential outcome you could have possibly hoped for in a perfect world? Maybe not. but like that's fine, and that's why there's fluctuations in training. Like, did you get an aerobic stimulus? Yeah. Was it your best 2K time ever? No, maybe not, but you know what?
You
like
get in,
that
you got the
happens.
training done.
Like,
and
it's
that's what
training,
matters.
and you need to be able to be consistent and do that over time. And if every single day you were hitting new PBs on everything all the time, like, that's just not how it works. Like, we live in reality, and so you can't be stressed about that. So I think that if it's a little bit like, you need to take training for what it is. Every time you come in, it doesn't have to be the best day ever. Like, just like get it done and show up and put the work in. Like, I heard somebody say once a while back that the heaviest weight to lift at the gym is the front door.
Yeah.
Like, once you're there, you just have to do it. Getting to the gym is the hardest part half the time, and then it's just, once you're there, just put your best effort in, walk away feeling like, you know what, like, I did everything I could do with what I had today. Like, maybe you had a long work day, maybe you didn't get much sleep, like, who knows? Like, everybody's busy and does a lot of different things, and like, that's the reality. Is like, training for me every day is not awesome. Like, during training for the games, when I was like working and training for the games, was awful some days, and I just like would be visibly burnt out. And people are like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "I don't know." So it is like that sometimes, and like, I can relate.
Yeah.
Like, some days are just hard days,
Yeah.
and like, it's fine. You just get in, do whatever you can do, and then just like, you know what, move on. It's fine.
Who would you like to meet? Say any celebrity in the world. Who would you like? Like, for me, I'd love to meet The Rock. He's been shredding
Rock
up.
would be pretty
He's been
cool.
shredding up recently, and he's like on this diet health kick, and he looks insane. I'd like to meet The Rock. I think he's a cool dude.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I don't know. Maybe it's someone like Elon Musk or somebody like that.
Get one of his flamethrowers.
Oh, he has flamethrowers?
Yeah, he does have flamethrowers. It's called the
I
Boring
feel like
Company.
that's just like someone who's a fairly outside the box thinker and is innovative. It'd be interesting to like hear how he thinks about things.
Yeah, just sit there and listen.
Yeah, I don't know.
Would you live anywhere else other than Canada?
That's tough to say. I was in Switzerland recently, and I remember thinking like, this is a really nice place. Like, I could maybe live here. And I think that I thought that because it's very similar to home. And I was like, you got mountains, big lakes, like just like nice forests around here. This is really nice.
Basically,
and then I went home and I went on like a trip back out where I grew up and like stayed in the mountains again. And I was like, you know what? This is a great place. Like, it's pretty awesome. Canada's, if you've never been, I highly recommend. It's also massive. So if you've never been, just be wary that you're not going to see all of Canada in like even 2 weeks. You have no hope.
Do you think you'll ever win the games?
I think I could win the games.
That's it. That's all we need.
Yeah, I think
You don't need to explain that. That's the mindset that you need if you're going to be a
I can
winner.
win the games.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of doing, but
People always say, "How do you beat Fraser?" I'm like, a lot of the people, it's just you just work hard, don't you? You just believe that you can do it.
well, like the reality is, like he's just doing the same thing. Like, it's fine. He's just a dude who's working out. Like, he's doing it a little bit faster than you are, but he makes mistakes. He does things well. He does things poorly. Like, he's just gotten very good. To his credit, he's a very good competitor, and he doesn't leave you a lot of opportunities. So it's going to be a narrow window. Like, you're not going to fucking crush him.
Yeah.
You're going to squeak one out if you're going to beat Matt.
Yeah.
And like, that's the reality. Is that's what we want, is a close race, something exciting. So it's going to be hard to do. Frankly, you have to do it the same way he does it, and you have to just not leave a lot of holes. Like, don't bomb any events and win the ones you can win, and that's the way it is. Like, you're just gonna have to try to be as good as you can be.
Yep. I think you've got a chance.
Okay.
After watching this year, I think you made a few mistakes in a couple of the events, but then you know what you need to work on, and I think there's always a physical limit. So you know, like,
already had a few slip-ups this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I was gonna say the difference is
it made it really good to watch this year because it was close. Like,
the difference is like, if I had some spectacular screw ups that were very obvious and like maybe cost me more places than some other people's, but this year in general there was a lot of events that, and I think maybe having some things like the Marathon Road, a really rock your world early on, sort of took its toll on people, and execution was a little bit low across the board. So it's interesting to look at, because I think that everybody has that, and if you think that anybody had a perfect weekend, like, you're dreaming. It may look like it sometimes, but it never happens. It doesn't exist. Any athlete you talk to would love to undo a couple decisions they made on the competition floor, and that's the way it is. But if I get to fix my mistakes, then so do they. And at the end of the day, then does it amount to the same thing? Like, give or take maybe a shift in a couple places, it probably doesn't change much. So, like, if I get to fix my whatever, like, plate flying away, then Matt gets to fix his clean and jerk that he missed.
yeah.
Like, how many points does that make? Like, and so you can't you can't look at it that way because, you know, guess what? You can't do that. Like, that's how it played out and that's how it is. And so the best thing you can do is, how do I make sure that that doesn't happen again? So what sort of steps do I have to take to make sure that those mistakes don't happen again? When I'm in training, do I have to practice transitions more? Do I have to, you know, like, do more weightlifting after conditioning pieces? Do I have to do whatever? Like, those are just things you need to take back to the drawing board and learn how to deal with. And then you set yourself up for success the next year.
What's your favorite movie? If you're gonna sit down and you're gonna watch a movie.
Your questioning is very sporadic, Greg.
Yeah, these are gonna be in and out of everywhere.
Movie. Let's
Yeah.
see. I watched MacGruber again recently. You ever seen MacGruber?
Nope.
Ah,
I don't think I've seen that.
What's MacGruber?
it's like an old SNL skit, which is like Saturday Night Live is like a comedy kind of show in North America, and it's basically just like a spoof of like a detective, like a military kind of detective
So you're
show.
Are you a comedy one? Do you
Yeah,
like?
I like
do
comedy
you like?
shows.
It's near Halloween. Do you like scary movies? I hate them. I can't
Not
watch
really.
them. I can't watch them.
I just don't know why. Why would you put yourself through that?
Yeah,
What's the
exactly.
point?
That's exactly my mindset.
Yeah, but you're like so scared.
Yeah, I can't sleep after.
I'm
them, so
like
just-
fine, but I just don't. I don't know. If I had the choice between that and something else, like probably watch the
Why
other
would you
one.
not choose comedy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first album you bought?
No, I
Nope.
don't. I couldn't tell you.
Nope. Mine was 21 Seconds by
It's just absolutely terrible.
So Solid Crew.
Okay, I don't even know what that is. So.
Yeah, they were terrible. That's been an interview with Patrick Vellner. Cool one.
Awesome. My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
In his hotel room.